Warning: this program may contain visuals that might offend sensitive viewers. Parental guidance is advised.
FITA and other respondents have dragged the state all the way to the North Gauteng High Court in an attempt to keep their clients lighting up their favorite brand of smokes.
I've got anxiety and I smoke to calm down.
600 to 700 a month on cigarette.
Short-tempered, irritable, and aggressive.
The ban was ineffective. It served no purpose.
When South Africa went into what was said to be a 21 days hard lockdown, citizens gave up many of their comforts. Businesses closed. We gave up the right to freedom of movement, as well as our drink and smoke. And on the 24th of April, the president of the country made this announcement.
The sale of cigarettes will be permitted.
Smokers lit up with joy and excitement, but that was short-lived, and they were soon huffing and puffing mad.
Abantu abaningi bathe abawusupport ugwayi abangaphezu kweinkulungwane ezimbili kanti kuleya nto esasiyilethile sasithe mhlawumbe ugwayi ungavunyelwa kodwa utshwala cha kodwa ke ngoba uhulumeni olalelayo siye savuma ukuthi hayi asuyeke ugwayi.
The sale of cigarettes and tobacco products has been banned for almost 3 months now. Have smokers kicked the habit?
90% of the 7 million odd adult smokers continued to have access to cigarettes, but they've paid more than double, in some cases up to 5 times the amount. So in that sense, that money's gone completely underground. These are cash transactions, and to try and trace that money now is going to be impossible. So I can safely say we've pushed R1 billion into, the pockets of people who will never declare it for income tax purposes. Somebody goes there and buys it.
Did you know that anything from when and for how much you buy cigarettes for has a bearing on their legitimacy?
If it wasn't lockdown, did you buy this under lockdown?
Yes, I bought
okay.
this.
So if it wasn't lockdown, this would not have been illegal, except for what price you paid for it.
What are you looking at it now that makes you say that if it wasn't lockdown, it would have been properly legitimate?
Because when you look, it's very faint, but it's got a diamond stamp. Looks like this. It has to have 2 things on it. This thing here is called a diamond stamp, and this here is called the diamond stamp imprint number. When you license as a manufacturer, or you're an importer, you get that diamond stamp and that numbering system from SARS. It belongs to them. They license you and they say, okay, you can now trade and manufacture, or you can import for local consumption. But on each packet you sell, it must have that stamp, and each number is different, belongs to each manufacturer.
In South Africa, it's often assumed that smaller and often lesser-known brands and manufacturers of cigarettes are illicit. However, this is a matter best determined by the South African Revenue Services.
I think one should be careful to associate brands with illicit. All brands of cigarettes in the world can be illicit. in the sense that it's applied currently. But in reality, it's the particular packet or one cigarette or handful of cigarettes or carton or master case or container that will ultimately determine if that batch is illicit.
In South Africa, cigarettes are determined illicit when the manufacturer has failed to pay excise tax on the product.
The cost to manufacture a box of cigarettes is very low. It's less than R3 in South Africa. Because it's high volume, the machines are sophisticated. You can make millions of sticks of cigarettes a day. And so as we sit here today in 2020, the excise tax alone on that one box or packet of 20 is over R17, which should go to government once the box has been manufactured. So you can imagine the profit margin you will make if you were to manufacture a R3 box of cigarettes, not pay the tax, but still put it out in the market at around R20.
Many tax experts agree that the tobacco ban has resulted in tax rands disappearing into thin air.
About R1 billion in excise taxes per annum to the fiscus.
The ban on the sale of tobacco products has not resulted in the end of the buying and selling of them. It has merely pushed it underground. Using a contact we got via WhatsApp, we set out to buy cigarettes undercover.
Hello?
Chris, how's it?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm fine, man. Listen, I got your number from... Do you have cigarettes?
Yes.
Okay, what do you have, man?
Okay, thanks. I have RG Blue, RG Mento, and Sharp Blue.
Do you have a carton? How much?
It's 700.
700 for a carton?
Yes, 700 box.
After receiving a location, I head to his house to complete the transaction.
You have arrived.
Brother, how's it, my man? In the blue or green? Blue. Okay.
Okay, my lane, can't do something. You know, the thing is, I'm getting for 680, 670. So if I sell it for less than 700, they're looking for money. Okay, you said how much? You're getting it for how much? 680, something like 80.
Ish. Because this is not the only packet that you want. You also want to sell. So maybe you can. That is why, because now when you say 700, how much are we going to sell it as well? If we're not selling loose packet, how much are we going to sell it for? Yeah. How much do you sell it for then, if it's not? No, if yeah. So, I mean, if we buy in bulk, if you want to buy in bulk, can't you make a...
No, because if I can get you like 3 cartons. It used to be 300, 400, 500, 600. Going up a day. Yeah. But now, what about these other ones, Diversent and Coffee? That one, I can't get it.
They'll know what you want.
Okay,
And here we go. I've got a packet of a carton, really. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 boxes of 20 each. And they cost 700 Rand. Prohibition and the rise of underground networks of illicit traders have always gone hand in hand. The ban in South Africa is no different. I traveled 20 minutes from our offices in Auckland Park to meet another dealer. Let's talk about how the prices of cigarettes have escalated from when the lockdown officially began until now.
People smoke. Standard, whether there's a lockdown or not, they continue smoking. The problem, like I said, has been the supply, because the products can't move from the factories to the stores. It became a risk. Now, the suppliers started raising the prices because of the risks, just in case they get caught and everything, they need to do bribes. Now, the prices escalated. Since the lockdown, a carton of cigarettes gained about 15 rands to 20 rands each and every week. So a carton which cost 60 bucks at the beginning of the lockdown now probably costs like 600. The difficulty is the supply, especially on the British American tobacco brands. Cortland Davidson has run out completely. We're no longer able to get it. When you get it, a carton is like 1,700. That carton used to cost 245 rands before the lockdown. For instance, RG, it used to cost like 150. It's currently 4 rands. People are still buying it. The cost hasn't been a matter to them.
Are you making a big profit? Are you making a small amount of profit? Is it worth the risk? And also talk to me about the turnover. Are you selling a lot of these cigarettes?
The volumes have gone up, but the profit margin has stayed very, very low. So I wouldn't say there's much money being made.
Are we talking to somebody here who's selling cartons, boxes? What are we looking at?
We're talking cartons. We sell cartons, and we've got different suppliers, and they all come with different quantities. This one will come and say, I've got 2 cartons, you take them. That one will come and say, I've got 10 cartons, you take them. And then you try and push. If I bought 10 cartons now, it's 11:30. By 3 o'clock, those 10 cartons will be gone.
The High Court in Gauteng has declared some regulations of the lockdown irrational and unconstitutional. Government has been given 14 days to fix this.
Do you think that maybe that you're an adult, you pay tax, you've got self-determination, that perhaps you should be allowed to exercise control on the decision on whether you smoke or not?
We should be given the option to choose whether we want to smoke or not to smoke, but in the same way we should be responsible as to where we smoke and how we smoke.
Is there a difference perhaps in taste and in the feeling you get from smoking what you call a premium and legalized cigarette to what is available now in the market?
There's a significant difference in smoking a premium branded cigarette compared to smoking the cheaper alternative. It tends to burn differently, it tends to taste differently, it tends to make you cough more often. And I don't exactly know what is the composition of these cigarettes, but I only smoke them as minimal as possible because I actually feel a difference in my health. I mean, my chest becomes more heavier to breathe as well. And it feels like a little burny sensation in the back of your throat, whereas you don't get that with the premium branded cigarettes.
How easy is it to quit smoking? And what avenues have you tried to help you in that direction?
I've been smoking since the age of 20. So it's been around almost about 15, 18 years that I've been smoking. Intermittently, I've tried stopping, and it proved harder each time. Nicotine is addictive, and it's very hard for a person with who's been smoking for so many years to give it up, because not only is it a mental addiction, it's also a physical addiction, which makes it even harder. I've tried many occasions to stop smoking and going cold turkey, and it didn't work out so well. You know, I still ended up smoking at the end of the day. I tried Nicorette tablets, I've tried pills that the doctor prescribed to help you deal with cravings. And unfortunately, those didn't work out for me.
How much are you spending on smokes now in level 3 lockdown compared to before when there was no lockdown?
Prior to the ban, I was spending about 600 to 700 a month on cigarettes. And this is now your premium brand cigarettes. And now during the ban, I'm spending double that on, I would say, your cheapest brand cigarette. And that's because the premium brand cigarettes are selling at 3 times the price. What used to be selling for 200 rand, 200 rand a carton is now selling for 800 rand a carton.
This is 24-year-old Logan from the West Rand. He uses cigarettes as a means to cope with stress.
I've got anxiety and I smoke to calm down. It helps me calm down. Now they're telling me I can't smoke and that's making me more anxious. That worry in the back of your head, that anxiety that it brings up, like, am I going to find more? Will I be able to find more? Will I be able to afford it? Makes people smoke more.
Logan says buying cigarettes of late feels like buying drugs.
To go find smokes nowadays is like trying to go find drugs. It's very difficult to buy, and when you do buy, it's very sketchy. You don't know if that guy's going to rat you out, and he doesn't know if you're going to rat him out. It's easier to go down the road and get 6 bags of weed, but you can't go up the road and buy a legal box of cigarettes.
He and many other smokers in the country doubt the reasons behind the government ban on the sale of tobacco products.
What makes me most angry is that I don't think they have any solid evidence behind the ban.
Although the cigarettes available in the black market have health warnings on the packet, he thinks they will kill him.
I think the milligram reading on the side of the boxes is just the general. They don't really measure what tar or what amounts of tar or nicotine is actually in the cigarettes. I think they just slap it on the box and send it through to us, and we could be smoking 2 milligrams of tar and it'll bloody kill us in 2 years' time.
Since the lockdown, many previously unknown brands of cigarettes are popping up in the market, while the established brands are near impossible to find.
As soon as lockdown came, you couldn't get hold of them. It was whatever the guy had in stock. So we would spend 200 rand on a carton then. Now we buy 1 or 2 boxes a day of red and black, I think it's called. That's 55 rand. So a box, not even a carton. So it's difficult. It's all these Camels, Stuyvesant Reds. If you can get a hold of them, you're paying over 1,000 rand for them. It's very hard, to get proper smokes.
Police Minister Bheki Cele is on record saying that smokers may be asked to provide proof of when and where their cigarettes were purchased in an attempt to curb violations of the ban.
I am not comfortable carrying it with me. There's always that fear that you're going to get stopped and searched, and I have been stopped on a few occasions. But on those occasions, luckily I didn't have any cigarettes on me. So there is a great concern about being pulled over and being looked at as you breaking the law. I'm generally a law-abiding citizen, and I wouldn't want to be caught for minor infringement, having that label of being a criminal.
Tax consultant and author Johan van Locherenberg says that the mere possession of smokes may bring about attention of law enforcement.
If a policeman then finds you with cigarettes in your pocket, he may develop a suspicion that you could possibly have bought these cigarettes illegally. Now he would then ask you, where did you get the cigarettes? You would have to explain to him. If your explanation is not a good explanation, he may then want to investigate further and say, where did you buy that box? When did you buy that box?
Maria Gumede, Deputy Director at the South African National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, says they often use cigarettes as a crutch to wean addicts of hard drugs.
When we take the drugs away and we allow them with the cigarettes, it actually makes it much easier for us to continue with the services that we have to offer, because they are able to still go back and smoke their cigarettes. But what we have seen specifically when we had the lockdown, we could not, though we had cigarettes in our tuck shop, but we could not give them the cigarettes. We actually struggled. We had a lot of patients that actually signed themselves that they did not stay.
According to Sanka, these are some of the possible outcomes of suddenly withholding cigarettes from smokers.
They struggle with emotions. They'll be short-tempered, irritable, and aggressive.
The National Council Against Smoking says there's no better time to quit smoking than the present.
COVID-19, against a respiratory illness, it attacks mainly the lung. And one of the things that tobacco does is attack. It damages the lungs. So already, as someone who uses tobacco, you are already at a disadvantage when you are now facing it. It's like COVID-19.
Dr. Nyatanza says cigarettes are harmful, regardless of the brand or legal standing.
People who consume like tobacco, 50% of them are more likely to actually die from tobacco-related illnesses, whether it's illicit or not. So there's a misconception that because it's not the brand that I'm used to, or because it tastes different or smells different, it's more harmful. No, tobacco itself is harmful as it is, whether you buy it in a fancier package or in a less fancier package, it's still the same.
Tax expert Johan van Locherenberg says the ban on the sale of tobacco products has done irreparable damage to the industry.
When the ban is ultimately lifted, these big criminal syndicates are not going to suddenly stop and go away because we ask them to. They're simply going to alter their behavior, and they're going to compete with the legitimate trade, and the portion of the trade that is legitimate. And what it also means is we've put R1 billion of money into the illicit economy.
Judgment in the matter is reserved.